Hello, thank you for visiting this video. In it, we are going to focus on an emotion regulation skill used in dialectical behavior therapy. And this skill is understanding and naming emotions. So why do we have emotions? We have emotions because they motivate us for action. Emotions communicate to others and also influence others. And emotions communicate to ourselves. However, some people can relate to this image. At times, they may feel overwhelmed by their emotions that they are not able to identify the true emotion they are feeling. That is why this emotion regulation skill of understanding and naming emotions is helpful. So, how do emotions motivate our behavior? Emotions prepare us for action. And some action urges may be evolutionary and therefore they are often hardwired in our biology. Emotions save us time in getting us to act in important situations. For example, what if someone screams, "Fire!" You may find yourself feeling like this. Emotions can be especially important when we don't have time to think things through. Therefore, if someone screams fire, you will likely feel fear and run to safety. Fear triggers the urge to run, the urge that is hardwired in our biology. And this is done with very little thinking. Therefore, the emotion of fear protects you from getting hurt. And emotions communicate to others and influence others. And this is done through facial expressions. Facial expressions are hardwired aspects of emotions. They also communicate much faster than words. Our body language and tone of voice can also be hardwired for us to recognize it. Like it or not, our body language and tone of voice communicates our emotions to others. Whether we intend it or not, our communication of emotions influence others. For example, if you see this face, what does it tell you? It very likely communicates to you that this person is sad. But what if you see this face? A smiling, happy, energetic face. This face may even influence you to smile back. And lastly, emotions communicate to ourselves. For example, emotional reactions can give us important information about a situation. Emotions can be signals or alarms that something is happening. For example, the fear in the earlier example of somebody screaming fire. And gut feelings can be a response to something important about a situation. However, our emotions about gut feelings are helpful if the emotion gets us to check the facts. If we assume our emotions are facts, we may use our emotions to justify our thoughts or actions. And this may cause trouble if our emotions get us to ignore the facts, though. So, when it comes to emotions, it's important to check the facts. For many, regulating emotions is not easy. So now we're going to talk about emotion regulation. Some of the reasons people may struggle to regulate emotions is due to biological factors, lack of skill, reinforcement of emotional behavior, moodiness, emotional overload, and even emotional myths. And some of these myths are, for example, believing that emotions come out of nowhere, or believing my emotions are who I am, take it or leave it, or believing that emotions should always be trusted, regardless of the facts. So, what is one way individuals can regulate emotions? That is by learning to observe, describe, and name your emotions. Therefore, we are going to focus on describing the 5 primary emotions, and those are anger, disgust, fear, happiness, and sadness. And here they are in all of their glory. Other emotions that are included in the emotion regulation skill DBT handbook are envy, jealousy, love, shame, and guilt. However, as you can imagine, there are many other emotions not listed here. So let's get started in understanding our emotions. For each of these emotions, I'm going to explain other words to describe the emotions, examples of events that prompt the emotions, interpretations of those events, how the emotion affects your biology, so how it affects you physically, how the emotion is often expressed, and the after effect, or we could also think about it as the consequences of the emotions. So let's go ahead and begin with anger. Can you relate to this image? I am sure that we all can. With anger, other words for anger are agitation, frustration, and hostility. Some common prompting events for anger are having an important goal blocked, you or someone you care about are being attacked or threatened by others, and losing power, status, or respect. Some interpretations of events that prompt feelings of anger are believing you were treated unfairly, believing that things should be different, and rigid thinking such as I am right. Anger can show up biologically, such as tight muscles, feeling like you're going to explode, or wanting to hurt someone. And anger can be expressed by physically or verbally attacking others, throwing or breaking things, or using obscenities and swearing. Some after effects of anger include narrowing of attention, attending only to the situation that's making you angry, or ruminating about the situation. And with anger, I do want to share an example. For me, growing up, I was taught that anger was not appropriate at all. And one example I can think about was my father wanting me to be home by sunset, even though my friends would stay out longer. Therefore, I grew up feeling that my anger was wrong when I would express it. However, once I learned the meaning of emotions, I realized my anger was appropriate because my goal of bonding with my friends was blocked by my father. And I felt like I was missing out on experiences with them. Unfortunately, my father would make me feel that being angry was rude and disrespectful. And I now do realize this is like a cultural emotion myth. However, aside from that, my anger was in fact appropriate for the situation. Now we have disgust, and here she is feeling repulsed by something. So other words for disgust are dislike, sickened, repulsive, and vile. Some prompting events for feeling disgust are seeing or smelling human or animal waste, observing or hearing about betrayal, child abuse, racism, or other types of cruelty. Some interpretations of those events that prompt feelings of disgust are believing that you are eating something toxic, extreme disapproval of yourself or your own feelings, thoughts, or behaviors, and also judging that a person is deeply immoral or has sinned. Disgust can show up biologically as well, with feelings such as nausea, having a lump in your throat, or having an urge to run away or push away. And disgust can be expressed by looking away, treating someone with disrespect, and having a mean or unpleasant facial expression, which we see here on the left. And some after effects of disgust include narrowing of attention, ruminating about the situation that's making you feel disgusted, or becoming hypersensitive to what disgusts you. And this is fear. Here it seems like something scared him and he fainted. And that is actually, for some, an appropriate response for fear. Other words for fear are anxiety, overwhelmed, nervousness, and worry. Some prompting events for fear are having your life, health, or well-being threatened, flashbacks, being in a new or unfamiliar situation, silence, or having to perform in front of others. Some interpretations of events that prompt feelings of fear are believing that you might die, you might be hurt, someone might reject, criticize, or dislike you, failure, and even feeling that you are incompetent. Fear can show up biologically by feeling breathlessness, fast heartbeat, getting cold, or butterflies in your stomach. And fear can be expressed by hiding or avoiding what you fear, talking less or becoming speechless, screaming or yelling, shaking, having a trembling voice, and sweating. And some after effects of fear include being hypervigilant to threats, losing your ability to focus, or imagining the possibility of more loss or failure. And here we have happiness, excited and with a smile. And with happiness, it seems that many believe this is the best emotion of them all. However, happiness does not communicate to us what the other emotions communicate. And therefore, we need all the other emotions as well. For happiness words, that is joy, hope, delight, pleasure, and elation. Some prompting events for feeling happiness are receiving a wonderful surprise, getting what you want, and being successful at a task. Some interpretations of events that prompt feelings of happiness are seeing joyful events as they are, without adding or subtracting to them. Happiness can show up biologically with feelings of feeling energetic, giggling or laughing, and feeling calm. Happiness can be expressed by smiling, communicating good feelings, silliness, and saying positive things with an excited voice. After effects of happiness include being courteous or friendly with others, doing nice things for other people, and having a high threshold for worry or annoyance. And lastly, we end with sadness. Sadness here seems like she's desperately hoping to feel less miserable. With sadness, some other words are grief, misery, disappointment, and hurt, as well as loneliness and depression. Some prompting events include losing something or someone, things not being what you expected or wanted, getting what you don't want, being rejected, or being alone. And unfortunately, these are inevitable life events and therefore normal parts of the human experience. Some interpretations of events that prompt feelings of sadness are believing that a separation from someone will last a long time, or believing that you will not get what you want or need in your life, as well as feeling worthless or not valuable. Sadness can show up biologically, such as feeling tired, having low energy, and feeling as if nothing is pleasurable anymore. Sadness can be expressed by avoiding things, withdrawing from social contact, or giving up and no longer trying to improve. Some after effects of sadness include not being able to remember happy things, feeling irritable, and having a negative outlook. And now you may be wondering if it is possible to change your emotional responses. The answer is yes, it is possible. And therefore, I encourage you to check out other DBT emotion regulation videos that cover check the facts, opposite action, and problem solving. So yes, emotional responses can be changed. Here are my references. And thank you for watching. I hope you are now better able to name and understand emotions.